That's 854-6262.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 20 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I was out in L.A. for a little while, and I remember meeting people who were not from L.A. and more people who were not from L.A. And I one time said, "Does anybody actually grow up here? Is people coming out here?" There was an allure about this, and it wasn't just for young guys. In my case, I wanted to sell records and be a recording artist. But the one thing would be the young girls who were out there. They were looking to make it big as models or actresses, and it's such a glamorous looking thing from the outside looking in. But when you've driven a van all the way from Indiana, and you're sleeping in the van, and you're a young girl, mm-hmm. you have to say to yourself as a young guy, who had no ill ideas, toward the. I had ideas, but nothing ill. But I remember saying to one, "Aren't you worried about sleeping out here on the curb? You can't. Can you get something? I don't want to invite you in because it'll look like I'm up to something no good." But I remember having this conversation. I've shared this with you, Robin.
Yes, you have
before. Mm-hmm. And now, as an older guy, I always think, gosh, when you see these photographers that say, "Come and get your headshot done with me, and we can make you a model." You never know. When you have daughters and sisters, you say to yourself, "Oh my gosh, what a world!" And there are certainly some success stories out there that didn't have to go through all of that. We have a lady on the phone who may have been allured by the same thing. What a pretty lady, Nancy Cole Silverman. I'm looking at her picture right here. She is one of the first female on-air TV producers in Phoenix, which is her hometown. And she has become a journalist. She's also worked in radio. And it says here she was the founder of the Equestrian News. So I wonder if she knows Marion County. Mm-hmm. Her new book is called Beyond a Doubt. It's a Carol Childs mystery novel. And it does have to deal with that attractiveness of Hollywood. Good morning, Nancy. How are you?
Hi, Larry. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here today.
Are you in Phoenix right now?
No, actually, I'm in Los Angeles. I went to college, and my first on-air work was as a television reporter in Phoenix, but I moved to Los Angeles, and like you had said, setting this interview up, few of us are natives. Most of us come here trying to find ourselves and end up where we do. Well,
your career, I think somebody who's serious about, like in your case, journalism, and were you interested in becoming an actress?
No. I always enjoyed journalism. I know I actually started to want to be on television as a television reporter. But actually, and I think you'll appreciate this, both you and Robin being in radio you really have to learn to write, and you really have to learn to communicate because you don't have those pictures.
That's right.
So I ended up spending 25 years in radio, and that I owe a lot to.
Oh, that's good. Well, you've got a great voice, too. I can hear the radio part of you as well.
And you'll appreciate this, Larry, because I know your background is that you started in sports radio. I ended up a general manager of a sports radio station here in Los Angeles, so it's proof God has a sense of humor.
But one thing you've done is you've overcome the hurdles, because since you were the one of the first female on-air TV producers in your own hometown, sometimes people aren't recognized in their own backyard. They have to go other places, but you were recognized in your own backyard, and they allowed you to grow.
Actually, growing up in Phoenix, my very first career started on air in Phoenix, yes, in television, and that's when women's voices were really, this was back in the very early 70s, were considered too light and really not crafted for serious news, and we weren't allowed to have serious news stories. And I really kind of leaned in and fought that. I thought, no, I should be able to do anything I want to do. Yeah. And I fought through that. I didn't come to L.A. though till about 5 or 6 years later, and I grew up kind of was married very young, and my ex was involved during the Vietnam War, and so I didn't come to California until after that, about 76.
Okay, all right. So
I didn't get started in L.A. till late 70s.
Okay. And when I was in LA, it was 1977. So we were there at the same time. I might have bumped into you.
That's right.
Crossing on those streets.
I might have bumped into you. The building I used to go to, I had a part-time job, was 9229 Hollywood or Sunset Boulevard. Now I can't remember which one it was. I think Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset. Yeah, you were in the music business.
Just before entering the residential area. It was like one of the last buildings in the commercial area.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't recognize it right now. That's all become a nightclub scene between that and Hollywood Boulevard, which is
really?
the basis of, we started this interview, was the basis of really where I'd started book 2 of the Carol Child series, was that mysterious draw to the boulevards and to the Hollywood lights and so forth.
So tell me about Carol Childs. This is your character that you created?
This is my character, and I decided to create a character. When I retired from radio after 25 years, writers write about what they know. And I thought,
right.
what do I know? I mean, I covered a lot of different elements in radio. I worked what we call both sides of the desk. I worked on the talent side, and then I jumped the desk at several times and went to the business side and then back to the talent side and then to the business side. So I eventually retired as the general manager of a talk radio station. And what I found so interesting about talk radio is that as I'm speaking to you right now, you really, other than the fact you can look at a picture of me, don't really know what I look like. You don't really know my size and shape or who I am or my animation or lack of it. And a lot of times we don't even have that much when we're listening to voices. And yet we, as listeners, have an innate relationship with that personality. That's our best friend. That's somebody we trust.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure you've had it. People will call you in, and you'll be talking to them, and you'll have to go to break and say, stay with me, I want to come back. And when they come back, they'll say to you, and before they come back, they'll say to you, some of them, well, I wouldn't say this on the air, but I'll tell you, blah, 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 about the case you're talking about in the story.
Right.
Well, this is, for an investigative reporter, is a real leg up. So I thought this would be a great way to create a character who is
very clever.
working her way up in the ranks of radio, trying to get, she starts out as a top-of-the-hour news reporter and gets all the sloshy assignments because her boss doesn't really want her working for him. He feels she's older than he'd like the demographic to be at his station and refers to her as the world's oldest cub reporter.
Oh, no.
And, of course, sends her out on all the scummy little assignments. But in doing that, she's bright enough to know that, where there's smoke, there's fire on a lot of things. And so she starts to investigate stories and really comes back with some real meat to some of her stuff. And this, of course, when she's on the air at the top of the hour, and as you know, you'll have that news reporter at the top of the hour, and sometimes you'll interplay back and forth, a little conversation. She gets pulled into the show, and listeners will call and start to talk about things. And sometimes listeners call and project to be personalities they're not. And so you have a mysterious voice who calls in who maybe is telling you something. So this is all the basis of where I was going to go with my series. And it's been very good. It's worked out. Actually, I have 3 books out now. The second book is Beyond a Doubt, which you and I started to talk about, that dealt with how young girls are drawn into the Hollywood flame.
Yes.
And I've just released the 3rd book, which just came out last week, called Without a Doubt.
Oh, okay. So the one I have is the second book, and the new one just came out, Without a Doubt. So we got a general idea of who Carol Childs is, and so since I don't have Without a Doubt, tell me about the story in that book.
Without a Doubt, that just dropped, is very exciting. This takes place during the holidays, when you've obviously been here during that time when the streets are all lit up, they're decorated, and the windows are decorated, and particularly Rodeo Drive, which Carol's station, which is a chick light format. And as you and Robin both know, you're working for one format maybe for 6 months or a year, and then suddenly the station may be sold and you have a different format. And Carol is working for a format now that is called Chick Light, which means we want news that is light and entertains women. Nothing too bloody or gory and or too hard news, and just nice, fun things. So she is sent out on an assignment to go to do a chocolatiers tour of Beverly Hills. And actually there is such a thing called a chocolatiers tour, where you go from one chocolate store to the next. And you may remember Lucille Ball did her chocolate.
Right.
Well, store is actually there on Rodeo Boulevard.
Nancy, we're up to the end of the segment, but and I know you appreciate the clock. It's a pain, but it's the thing we have to worry about. So thank you for being on the. I just went to your website, by the way. I want to share it with the listeners. It's nancycolesilverman.com. Easy enough. You can see all 3 books: Shadow Doubt, Beyond a Doubt, and Without a Doubt. Without a doubt, this was a great interview, even though it was short. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you, Larry.
We will be right back. This is WOCA.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. In the race for the White House, Hillary Clinton picks up a key endorsement.
California Governor Jerry Brown, who writes, quote, "This is the only path forward to win the presidency and stop the dangerous candidacy of Donald Trump." Clinton was in New York yesterday, but tonight will be at a fundraiser with former Attorney General Eric Holder and later with New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, who's often talked about as a potential running mate, someone who could energize the young voters.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. A furor over the shooting of a gorilla at the Cincinnati Zoo after he grabbed a